Hi Stampin' friends, Sandy MacIver here, Stampin' a Blog and Stamping with Sandy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Canada, and today I'm going to show you how to make this little bridge card. And it's kind of like a diorama card, but it's a little bit different. And what's really cool about it is there's a little bridge across the front, but the way it's folded, you can lay it down flat and it fits into a Stampin' Up envelope. How cool is that? We're going to be playing with some new products from the upcoming holiday catalog. You'll find it on page 39, and this is Hearts Come Home, and there's a coordinating die set, Hometown Greetings. We're going to be using those to build the little bridge in the little background, and then the designer paper back behind here is Merry Music, also from the holiday catalog. So let me just give you the cardstock so that you can work along with me. The card base is a piece of thick Whisper White. It's 4 1/4 by 8, and we're going to be scoring it. Then we need a piece of designer paper, and we're going to be chopping this up, but it does start at 4 by this way and 6 3/4 this way. So you want to make sure that your design's going this way, not this way, okay? We're going to be die cutting from a piece of regular Whisper White, and it started out at about 3 1/2 by 10, and then go hit your scrap bin because you need a couple of little pieces of the gold foil sheet. I don't know if you noticed, but I have lights in all of my little buildings, and that's because of the gold foil sheet. Only one ink pad, basic black, and you need a little handle if you've got the Claremont stamps, and that's for the sentiment. So one of the things that I like to do when I get a new die set is I like to pull it out and I put all of the dies onto a piece of paper and run them through my Big Shot because I want to see what they do. Because sometimes we get things that just emboss. Sometimes like this, we get pieces that don't completely detach themselves, and it's interesting to know what those are, okay? So for example, this little guy down here, and I'm just going to bring the dies in, this little square here creates all these little stars. So before I glued this together, I could have used that across the back here and then put another little piece of gold underneath there to highlight it. And then we've got this little guy, and I'm loving him. He'll be in an upcoming card for sure. It's the top of a tag. So you can cut a piece of cardstock and then just attach this to the top of it and make an instant tag. And then we've got the village. There's some outline guys here. So if you were doing a silhouette, you'd have these little guys. And then there's all these little guys, and you'll notice that they don't cut themselves out. So you're going to have to take a pair of scissors and cut along. But what's good about that is it also means that you can extend. And if you look here, you'll see what I mean. We've got this little house, and it ends right there. I have extended it for my card. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that today. So there you go. There's some cool ideas, and what I'll do is I'll add this picture to my blog for you, and I will also give you the measurements of what each of these little guys are, just so that you can decide how you want to fit them into your cards. So if you have the Stampin' Trimmer, you can do all of the next steps all with this one tool. This is one of the many reasons I love this little guy. So I started with my cardstock, and actually I think I cut it too long. No, it's perfect. Cool. So again, it's 4 1/4 by 8, and I'm going to give you a little picture diagram of what we're going to do. We're going to be scoring 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 5 1/2, and 6 3/4. And you can also do that on this little guy. So there's 2 tabs. Let me bring them both into the screen for you. One is light, one is dark. The scoring tab's light, the cutting tab is dark. When I'm not using this to stop from getting boo-boos happening, I move it down to the bottom because I don't need it. So I'm starting at 1 1/4 and scoring it. Then I'm moving to 2 1/2, scoring it. Moving over here to 5 1/2 and scoring it. And 6 3/4, there's a little pop-out arm here, so when you're traveling, this pops in there and locks, but then you can pop it open to cut up to 14 inches. Isn't that cool? So if you are making large cards, or if you are a scrapper, this is the perfect tool. All right. There we go. So I've got all those done. I'm going to bring my cutter back in because I'm going to show you what I did with the designer paper. And so this again is a piece of Merry Music, and it's also in the holiday catalog. And I started with the piece being 4 tall, 6 3/4 long. And we are going to cut this at 1 inch. And there's just a little bit of room to hold on, but there's enough. Okay, another 1 inch. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a sec. 2 3/4. Right there. And one more, 1 inch. So keep those in order and transfer them to your work surface. And I'm just going to show you how simple this is. You're going to fold over the first fold and then burnish it with your bone folder. Fold this guy back and burnish that as well. Now please excuse my pink fingers. I was peeling beets last night and I can't get the dye out of my fingers. But I'll tell you what, we tried roasted beets for the first time last night. They were awesome, so it was worth it. So you're just going to have to put up with my pink fingers. Alright, so here's the base of the card, and now we have all those pieces. I'm just going to grab my adhesive. I'm using Fast Fuse because it's nice and flat and there's not a lot of pressure on it, so it's perfect. And you're just going to take all these little pieces and you are going to transfer them to your base. Don't you love tape runners? They make doing these steps so stinking easy. Alright, we got this guy. And he's going to go right there. You know, when the catalog first came out, I was not impressed with the black and white designer paper because I thought, oh, black and white Christmas cards? No. But I've been playing with it and I have to say, I'm converted. Black and white Christmas cards rock. Although I have been adding highlights of gold to them to really make them sparkle, but they've sold me and they've converted me. There you go. There's the card base. That's how fast and easy it is. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little secret. You want to take your ruler and this piece of cardstock that we're going to be working with, we are looking at making some marks at 1 3/8 and 3/4. So 1 3/8 is just under a half. So I'm going to put a mark there, and then I turn it this way and I'm marking it at 7, and then I'm going to put a mark from 7 at 3/4 of an inch. And I'm doing it in pencil, but it's going to be cut off anyway. So, whoops, sorry. My camera doesn't like white on white. Okay, so we're going to start with a little house die, and you're going to lay it up on here. And I've got my magnetic platform and a cutting pad. And the reason for the marks is, and I'm just going to show it to you here, here's my 1 3/8, and I'm lining it up kind of with the edge of this, and then my 3/4 is over here, and so it's here. And so what I'm getting is I'm getting the little hill. I'm building that little hill into my design element. And so I'm going to use Post-it notes to hold this in place so that it doesn't move around while I run it through my Big Shot, as soon as I figure out which side actually has a sticky on it. Alright, these are edgelets, but they've got some intricate cuts in them, so I have a brand new cutting pad that I'm using, because you want to make sure that top pad doesn't have a really big warp in it, or you're not going to get all the details on the little houses that cut and pop out nicely. And the other thing I do is I run it through my Big Shot 4 times to make sure that the die cuts are all working. And look at that, works out great. So before I cut out the church, I want to remove this piece because I don't want it damaged. So I'm going to cut up here, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm going to line up the cut with the cut in the die. And I'm going to do the same thing from this end, and you've got a little bit of a sweep going on with that little hill, and remove that. And so make sure your surface is clean, because the little pieces from all the little windows kind of pop up there. And then we are going to take the church, and I like to keep it up quite high, because I don't know if you noticed, let me just bring this in, there's quite a bit of snow, shall we say, at the bottom of this, because I wanted my steeple to be quite high on my card. So again, the diorama effect. So I'm moving that up near the top, And we're going to be slicing most of it off on the edges, so I'm not too worried about that. There we go. And again, you want to run that through 3 or 4 times to make sure that all the little itty bitties get cut. Okay, so here's the second little guy, and then once again what we want to do is we need to chop him away, but we're going to be cutting this one down, so I don't need to extend the cuts on this one. But you just pop them out like that, and then you can get rid of these extra little bitties that might be hanging around in there. But most of them pop out quite nice and clean. Okay, so next step, you went and did some dumpster diving in your scrap bin, and you found all kinds of little pieces of your gold foil. And this is what you're going to do with them. You're going to place your little house right over top and then outline it with a pencil. And it's not really going to leave a pencil mark, but what you can do is you can push hard enough that it leaves an indent in the paper. And then you want to cut this out, and you want to stay inside the pencil line. So cut off about 1/8 of an inch inside the pencil line, just like that. And then you're going to turn this little guy over. I'm just going to put a scrap of something under here. There we go. Let me zoom in for you. Okay, we're dealing with white on white again, so let my camera have a little hissy fit here. Alright, so grab some multi-purpose glue and put a few dots on the back of this little house, and then find your little gold house and place it right over top. And it should stay just on the inside of the outline. And there you go. Now your house is all lit up. And so you're going to do that with all of them, and I'm not going to do them for the video. I've got some already done. So next I want to stamp my sentiment, and then from there we're going to be cutting these down to size. So I'm using my black, and I'm going after this Merry and Bright stamp set, or stamp, and I'm going to stamp it down near the bottom. And again, I could have got it a little straighter. Oh well, pretend that's straight. And I'm using my archival black. So remember, you do need to let that sit for a little while or let it heat set. But we can kind of move on with what we're dealing with. And I'm going to pull this out a little bit first. Your finished card, if you put a ruler across here, the little bridge is 1 3/8. So we need to cut this down so that works into that. So I'm going to place a mark, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of looking at my little house over here, and I am thinking that I am going to start right about there, and I'm going to go to 5, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to finish there, and I'm just going to pop this into my cutter. Line it up on a straight line across the bottom here, and then your pencil mark goes right into the groove right here. That's the cutting groove, and you're going to slice that off, turn it the other way, and again line it up on a straight line. Making sure that your pencil mark is in the groove, and cut that. So there's my finished piece that's ready to go on my card, but before I do that, I want to do the inside piece, and basically we're going to do the same thing. We're going to lay this little guy down, and I'm going to decide where I want this, and what I'm doing this time is I'm using the folds in the card base, okay? And so I'd like to keep that little tree, and I definitely want the temple, my little church, okay? So, and I need to stay a little bit on the inside of where my score lines are. So I'm just going to put a little pencil mark right there and another little pencil mark there, and those are right on the score line, which means I'm going to cut them off. And so once again, line up a line across here because you want to keep this straight, and you want your pencil mark to be in the groove right there, and you're going to cut that. See how many good uses this awesome little cutter has? Alright, once again, I'm lining up here for the line to keep it straight. I'm putting my pencil mark into the groove, and I'm cutting. There we go. Now, if I cut right, this should fit in here, and I should be able to close this card. Voila! Okay, so I got a little bit of a wow there. I am going to take just another hair off of this side with the tree, because it's going to stop me from closing my card flat and getting it into an envelope. And see, you can go part way up without disturbing that little tree. And if I do a dry fit again, voila, I can close it without a wow. So a couple things before we move on to the next step. On this card, I used the new paste and I added some snow. So there's snow on the roof of the building and there's snow down here, which is why I moved the sentiment down a little bit so I could do that if I wanted to. And there's also snow on the back here. And I can't decide if I like that or not, so I'm going to build this one without snow. So if you are going to do snow, this is the perfect time to do it. Add your paste now and then let it sit for about 20 minutes before you put your card together. I am going to put a half of a dimensional there. Now I'm using dimensionals because I want to pop up this back piece. It does make it a little bit bulkier to fit into my card, so just a heads up on that. If you are, thinking about mass producing these and mailing them, it might cost you a little bit more to mail them over the holidays. I have not taken one to the post office yet to try it. So I want this to pop up a little bit more than my bridge that's going to go across the front. So I am raising this a little bit, and I'm trying to keep my steeple inside there as well. So I want that first piece to go there. Fits perfectly, yeah. Then we're going to take this little guy and we are going to attach him right across here, and that's going to create our bridge. And so what you can do, and I would recommend fast fuse for this one because this is the whole thing that's holding your card together. So you want it to be as strong as possible. And I'm just doing the outside edges. And I like to turn my card this way. I find it easier to work. And I'm going to start by lining up the two bottom corners here, just like that. And then I'm going to press down. And then you can bring it down here to this one and do exactly the same thing. Line up the two corners and press down. And that's it. Here's the card. It folds both ways, fits into an envelope beautifully, and it's got that little diorama thing going on. So there's my two finished cards for you. Aren't they cute? I just love them. And it's so easy to do with all these things. And there's a bunch of music in this set of designer paper as well, which would be kind of cute. And you could cut out the titles. So there's Christmas music, and you could have it in the background along there too. That might be my next card. And so, what do you think? With or without snow? That's the question for this video. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for stopping in. If you enjoyed my video today, please give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And see you again soon for some more stamping fun. Bye now.